Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by asking you a question. What if the most powerful form of brainwashing is the one you do to yourself on purpose? Because here's the truth. Every day we are being influenced by advertising, by opinions, by social media algorithms, by voices that tell us who we're not, what we can't do, and how far we won't go. So if the world is already trying to program your mind, wouldn't it be wise to do the programming yourself? Let's talk about 5 intentional ways to brainwash yourself, not to become someone else, but to become everything you were meant to be. 1. Tell yourself a new story. Every day, most people leave inside stories they never wrote. I'm not good at that. I've always been lazy. I just wasn't born with talent. These are not facts. These are scripts we've repeated until we believed them. But what if you could rewrite the story? What if you woke up every morning and said, I figure things out. I show up. I have everything I need within me. The brain doesn't resist repetition. That's how the old stories got in, so it's how the new ones take root. Every morning, every evening, say it until you believe it. Believe it until you become it. 2. Build rituals that make you feel like the person you want to be. Success isn't about motivation. It's about identity. Do you want to be disciplined or be someone who is disciplined? That subtle shift changes everything. It's not about brushing your teeth every morning. It's about being the kind of person who never leaves the house without doing it. Want to be successful? Design rituals that tell your brain, this is who I am. Wake up early, that's a signal. Read 1 page a day, that's a signal. Work out even when it's cold. That's not just about fitness. That's identity reinforcement. Rituals are not random acts. They're brain signals, and the brain listens. 3. Surround yourself with the future, not the familiar. We are the average of the people we spend time with, but not just physically. Even virtually, mentally, energetically, your environment is programming you. If you want to brainwash yourself for success, then remove the noise of people who don't believe in dreams. Fill your space with ideas that challenge you, books that provoke you, people that make you slightly uncomfortable because they're already playing at the level you want to reach. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your standards, and your standards are shaped by your surroundings. Choose your surroundings like your future depends on it, because it does. 4. Obsess over progress, not perfection. Here's something nobody tells you. Success isn't clean. It's messy. It's filled with broken routines, missed deadlines, awkward conversations, and days where nothing makes sense. But the brain learns from progress, not perfection. When you focus on what's working, your brain starts to believe that effort leads to growth. And when your brain believes growth is possible, it starts working harder than you ever thought it could. So track your wins, celebrate tiny steps, keep score of your courage, not your outcomes. That's how you build momentum. That's how you brainwash yourself to never stop growing. 5. Speak to yourself like you'd speak to a friend you love. The most dangerous voice in your life is the one inside your head. And most of us would never talk to a friend the way we talk to ourselves. You're not good enough. You blew it. You're such a failure. We say these things quietly, repeatedly, and the brain listens. But here's a powerful reframe. Start treating yourself like someone worth fighting for. When you fail, encourage yourself. When you fall short, remind yourself how far you've come. When you doubt, speak belief, not blame. Words have energy, and when your words change, your mind changes, and when your mind changes, so does your life. So here's where we land. Success isn't just about strategy. It's about psychology. It's about choosing what you feed your mind, how you talk to yourself, and what you surround yourself with. Because the brain is always listening, and if the world is already trying to shape you, maybe it's time to shape yourself first. So go ahead, brainwash yourself with truth, with belief, with identity, not to become someone you're not, but to finally become someone you've always been capable of being. Most people don't realize this, but the most powerful force shaping their future is not talent, not opportunity, not even hard work. It's the story they tell themselves every single day. We are storytelling creatures. Our brains are wired to make sense of the world through narrative. And somewhere along the way, often in childhood, sometimes during failure, sometimes just through quiet repetition, we start telling ourselves stories that define who we are. I'm not smart enough. I've always been unlucky. People like me don't succeed. These stories become the lens through which we see everything. We stop trying not because it's impossible, but because the story already decided the outcome before we even began. What we don't realize is that these stories are not carved in stone. They're not facts. They're just thoughts we've practiced so many times that they feel like truth. And here's where the power lies. If we can practice one story into existence, we can practice a better one. This is how you brainwash yourself for success. You replace the old script with a new one. You stop repeating the narrative that holds you back and start repeating one that moves you forward. And yes, at first it will feel fake. It will feel like you're lying to yourself, but you've been lying to yourself all along, just in the opposite direction. So what if, instead of "I can't do this," you told yourself, "I figure things out"? What if, instead of "I'm not qualified," you said, "I'm a quick learner"? What if you looked in the mirror and said, "I'm exactly the kind of person who makes things happen"? Say it once, and your brain might ignore it. Say it daily, and your brain starts to listen. Say it every morning, every night, especially when you don't feel like it. And you begin to rewire the story. The brain is like a sponge. It absorbs whatever we give it most consistently. That's why repeating a new story, one rooted in strength, belief, and forward motion, isn't just about motivation. It's about transformation. You start walking differently, thinking differently, showing up differently. Because your mind is no longer trying to argue with a story of limitation. It's following the script of expansion. And here's what's remarkable. Once you change the story in your head, the world around you starts to change too. You spot opportunities you used to miss. You take risks you once avoided. You bounce back faster because failure no longer means you're not good enough. It just means the chapter isn't over. You become someone who doesn't just dream, but believes those dreams are possible. So yes, brainwash yourself, but do it with intention. Tell yourself a new story. Tell it often. Tell it out loud, because your future depends on the story you believe. And that story is yours to write. Most people wait for motivation before they act. They think success is about feeling inspired or confident or ready. But the truth is, success doesn't come from motivation. It comes from identity. It's not about what you do once in a while. It's about who you believe you are. And the fastest way to change who you believe you are is to build small, intentional rituals that reflect the person you want to become. Because rituals shape identity, they send a signal to your brain again and again that this is who we are now. Think about it. If you want to be a writer, you don't wait until you feel like a writer. You sit down and write every day, even when you don't feel like it. That daily ritual, no matter how small, reinforces a new identity. I'm someone who writes. The same is true for health, discipline, leadership, or success. You don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start to become great. And the best place to start is with a simple ritual repeated over and over again. What people often misunderstand is that rituals don't have to be big or dramatic. You don't need to run 10 miles a day or wake up at 4 a.m. to prove you're disciplined. It could be as simple as making your bed every morning, reviewing your goals for 5 minutes, or saying 3 powerful affirmations before you leave the house. These may seem insignificant, but your brain is always watching. It's always collecting evidence. And when it sees you act consistently in alignment with your future self, it starts to believe that this is who you truly are. There's a kind of quiet power in showing up for yourself. Every time you follow through on a ritual, you build trust with yourself. And trust is the foundation of belief. The more you trust yourself to take action, even when it's uncomfortable, the more unstoppable you become. Over time, these rituals stop being tasks and start becoming part of your identity. You no longer need to push yourself to do them. You feel off when you don't. That's how you know you've brainwashed yourself, not with hype or false promises, but with action-based evidence. And yes, there will be days when you're tired, when you slip, when life gets messy. But rituals aren't about being perfect. They're about being consistent enough to create momentum. They're the anchors that keep you grounded when life throws you off course. They're the silent declarations of who you are becoming, spoken not with words but with action. So if you want to transform your life, don't wait for some massive shift. Start with one ritual, something that matters to you. Something you can repeat, then build on it, stack it, strengthen it, because success doesn't start in the moment of inspiration. It starts in the quiet, repeated rituals that tell your brain, this is who we are now. And once that identity takes hold, everything changes. We often underestimate how much our environment shapes us. Not just the physical space we occupy, but the people we engage with, the media we consume, the conversations we entertain, and even the background noise we allow into our daily lives. The truth is, our surroundings are constantly influencing us, either reinforcing who we've been or nudging us toward who we could become. If you want to brainwash yourself for success, one of the most important decisions you can make is to surround yourself not with what's comfortable or familiar, but with what reflects the future you want to create. This is where many people get stuck. They stay in circles that feel safe. They consume content that affirms their current beliefs. They hang onto relationships that validate their current limitations. And they wonder why change feels impossible. The brain thrives on repetition and reinforcement. If you're constantly around people who talk about lack, doubt, fear, and limitation, then your brain adopts that language as its default setting. Even if you want more, your environment is pulling you back. Subtly, quietly, but powerfully. On the other hand, when you expose yourself to people who think bigger, who act boldly, who have done what you dream of doing, something begins to shift. At first, it may feel intimidating, it may trigger your insecurities, but that's not a sign to retreat. It's a signal that you're growing. Being around people who challenge you doesn't mean you're behind. It means you're stepping into a space where expansion becomes possible. You begin to absorb new standards, new habits, new perspectives. You start to realize that success isn't reserved for some special group. It's the outcome of decisions and discipline. And those things are contagious when you're around the right energy. Your brain adapts to whatever is most consistent. So make consistency work in your favor. Curate your inputs. Be intentional about what you listen to, what you read, and who you spend your time with. You don't need to cut everyone off, but you do need to limit how much influence they have. If someone constantly reminds you of who you used to be, start spending more time with the version of you that's trying to emerge. That version lives in books, podcasts, mentorships, and aligned communities. And this isn't about being fake or pretending you're someone you're not. It's about stepping into the mindset of your future self and normalizing it. The more your surroundings reflect your future, the less resistance you'll feel to becoming it. You won't have to force change. It will feel natural. It will feel inevitable. Because when you consistently surround yourself with belief, drive, creativity, and purpose, those traits stop feeling foreign. They become familiar. They become you. If you want to brainwash yourself for success, treat your environment like your blueprint. It's not just a background. It's the script your brain reads from every day. Choose it wisely, because what surrounds you shapes you. There's a misconception that success is neat, linear, and predictable. That if you just work hard and follow the right plan, everything will fall into place. But real success doesn't look like that. It's messy. It's filled with false starts, unexpected detours, and moments when nothing seems to be working. The people who reach extraordinary levels of achievement aren't the ones who never fall. They're the ones who keep going, even when it's not perfect. And the secret to their momentum isn't in chasing perfection. It's in obsessing over progress. Perfection is a trap. It convinces you that if it's not flawless, it's not worth doing. It paralyzes you into overthinking, waiting, and holding back. But progress is movement. It's energy, it's life. It says, I may not have it all figured out, but I'm better than I was yesterday. When you start to focus on what's improving, rather than what's missing, you shift the entire way your brain experiences growth. You stop punishing yourself for being a work in progress and start celebrating yourself for showing up. This isn't just motivational fluff, it's neuroscience. Your brain is shaped by what you give attention to. When you constantly highlight your flaws, your missteps, your failures, you reinforce a belief that effort doesn't work, that you're not getting anywhere. But when you track your wins, no matter how small, you create a feedback loop that says, I'm growing. That loop builds confidence, and confidence builds consistency, and consistency, not perfection, is what leads to transformation. Let's be honest. There will always be a gap between where you are and where you want to be. But that gap shouldn't discourage you. It should excite you. It means you're reaching, stretching, becoming. The danger isn't in failing. It's in becoming so obsessed with flawless execution that you stop taking risks. Because progress only happens when you're willing to try before you're ready, speak before you're polished, and act before you're certain. And here's what's amazing. The more you focus on progress, the more your progress multiplies. You start to see how one small win leads to another. You begin to realize that showing up on the bad days matters more than being perfect on the good days. You learn that success isn't about never falling. It's about shortening the time between the fall and the bounce back. This mindset rewires your brain. It makes failure feel less threatening. It turns setbacks into setups. And over time, you build an inner resilience that isn't shaken by imperfection. You stop needing everything to go right because you trust yourself to keep going when it doesn't. That's real strength. That's real success. So if you want to brainwash yourself for greatness, stop chasing perfect. Chase movement, chase growth, chase momentum. Make progress the standard you live by. Because perfection is a fantasy, but progress is power. There is a voice that lives inside all of us. Sometimes it whispers, sometimes it shouts, but it's always there. And the truth is, that voice has the power to build you or break you. Most people spend their entire lives listening to it without realizing they have the power to change what it says. If you really want to brainwash yourself for success, you have to start with how you speak to yourself. Not just in public, not just when things are going well, but especially in private, especially when things are hard. Because how you talk to yourself when no one is listening determines how you live when everyone is watching. Think about how you speak to someone you love. You encourage them, you believe in them, you remind them of their strengths when they forget. But when it comes to ourselves, we often do the opposite. We criticize, we doubt, we shame. We say things to ourselves that we'd never dare say to someone we care about. And yet, we wonder why we struggle with confidence, clarity, and consistency. The voice in your head becomes the soundtrack of your life. If that soundtrack is full of fear, judgment, and insecurity, it doesn't matter how talented you are. You'll always feel like you're not enough. Changing your inner dialogue isn't about lying to yourself. It's about choosing to be your own ally instead of your enemy. It's about replacing harshness with honesty, but the kind of honesty that leads to growth, not guilt. It's about telling yourself, I'm learning, instead of I'm failing. It's about saying, this is hard, but I can handle it. Instead of, I'll never get through this. Words matter. Not just the ones you say out loud, but the ones you repeat silently every single day. When you begin to speak to yourself with the same kindness and belief that you give to others, something shifts. Your brain starts to see you differently. It starts to associate effort with encouragement, not punishment. That creates a space for risk, for creativity, for trying again after you fall. And the more you reinforce that with compassionate self-talk, the more resilient you become. Resilience isn't built by pretending everything is fine. It's built by acknowledging the challenge and still choosing to believe in your ability to rise. That belief is created word by word, sentence by sentence. Day by day, it's a process, but it's powerful. Because once you learn to be on your own side, you stop looking for validation from the outside world. You carry it with you. So yes, if you want to brainwash yourself for success, start with your inner voice. Make it strong, make it supportive, make it unshakable, because you're going to have hard days. You're going to have setbacks. But if the voice inside your head is louder with love than the noise around you is with doubt, then you'll keep going. You'll keep growing. And eventually, you'll become exactly who you were always meant to be.